How's it going, everybody? This is SketchMaker here, and welcome back to a new video. Now, there hasn't been a lack of Supra Mark 5 videos on YouTube last year. There was thousands and thousands of them, and everybody seems to be buying one, modifying them, and so on. I even made an early redesign of it almost a year ago now, and I'm gonna link that video up here in the corner or down in the description below or somewhere in this area right here. And honestly, I wasn't really a fan of the Mark 5 when it was first introduced. I felt it was so far off the FT1 concept, which I still can't believe how pretty it is, the concept. Just look at it. It's sleek, low, wide, and has a unique styling, especially in the front end. The proportions are just on point with this car. It looks like it's ready to attack the road, but in a graceful way, not necessarily aggressive looking. It just looks proper. It's a beauty. And yes, I'm aware that Toyota never said that the FT1 would be a sort of a hint of the new Supra, but come on, it's literally the same car without the beautiful proportions. Although I admit that the Mark 5 has grown on me over the past year, especially after the Supra invasion at SEMA last year with a bunch of different builds and a lot of wide body kits as well. But I still like the Mark 4 better, and that all has to do with, you know what, the proportions of the car. So with that said, I'm going to redesign the Mark 4 Supra in this video. Modernize it, redesign it, whatever you want to call it. And I'm also apologizing for the squeaky noise from my brand new chair, which I just bought for the reason of not having a squeaky chair. I guess sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. But the idea is to explore what would happen if Toyota decided to go down a different path than what they did with the Mark 5. What if they had kept the proportions and kind of the feel of the Mark 4? What would it look like if they made it today in 2020? So that's what we're gonna find out. Alright, so here we have the legendary Mark 4 with some legend inside of it as well, as you can see there, with very fast shades. It's a very happy looking car, and I kind of like that, because nowadays, every single car out there, every car, it doesn't matter if it's a Nissan Versa or a Lamborghini Aventador, they all, for some reason, need to be very angry looking and aggressive looking. But this Mark 4 here, if I would put an emotion on this, I would say it looks pretty happy. You know, you have the round headlights, and you have almost like a smiley face down here. And this is something that I want to keep in this redesign. I'm kind of at war with the angry fascias of cars today. I want to bring back some elegance, some class, maybe even some sad car faces, and some happy ones. And I think the Supra fits into the happy category, so I want to keep that when we make this redesign. It's all about the proportions of this car. But what exactly does that mean? What do you mean when you say proportions? Because it sounds fluffy, it sounds undefined. What do you mean? So what I mean by proportions is to keep the package as it is, and the volumes and the measurements of the car, those should be the same as the Mark 4 Supra. But it does have some very 90s styling, and by that I mean very, very rounded and bulgy corners and edges. It almost looks like a RX-7 that's been bulking for a little bit too long and maybe need to cut back a little bit on the calories. So what we're going to do is to sharpen this up. I want to sharpen this fender line and this in the front as well. I'm going to, of course, change these wheels, but at the same time, these 5-spoke Supra wheels are so connected with the Mark IV that I want to find probably some other 5-spoke wheels that will suit the new design. And for the front part here, this whole design is going to change. I'm going to change every single piece of this, but I want to keep the overall graphical placements of the different design features. So I want to have a large intake in the middle, I want to have 2 smaller ones on the side, and I want to have a light on the top part of these intakes. And for the lights here, that's also another typical thing with the Supra Mark IV is these lights. So I want to make something just as unique but with a new design, and maybe implement something. I'm thinking like a letter, maybe have the letter S be the headlight itself, or maybe do something that connects with this crease right here, but that's gonna be too aggressive, and no, we don't want aggressive. So I think sticking with the letter S for the headlights is a pretty interesting idea. We just need to figure out how to make that work in the design. Other than that, I want to lower the front part graphically, so this black part here needs to be body colored. Make some cool changes here, maybe make a line that goes something like this. Just add some dynamic lines into this design. And with that said, let's get to work and let's see how this redesign is going to turn out. So here we are once again inside of Photoshop. So I get this question pretty much almost every day, and I also mention it pretty much in almost every video, but the software that I'm using for these redesigns is Photoshop. So if you want to get into this kind of work and do your own redesigns, Photoshop is the software that I'm using. You can obviously use a bunch of other ones, but I have no idea what those are. I use Photoshop, and that's what works for me. Now, as I said in the brief here just a moment ago, I want to keep the same graphical layout of the front end of the Supra. The only reason for that is pretty simple. I want you to be able to see that this is a modernized or a new version of the Mark IV Supra. And in order to do that, we need to have some visual references to the original Mark Supra, and that is of course the graphical elements and the placements of them. Instead of creating a brand new car, I'm going to update every single piece of graphic on this car and make those modern. And as you can see here, I almost broke my own rule and started to make some nonsense aggressive headlights, which is not going to last long in this video because we're not doing aggressive cars on this channel, at least not right now. At least not unless we're doing a Lamborghini or something like that. Then I understand that it can be aggressive, but not every single car needs to be aggressive. If you have a 3-cylinder and pushing 75 horsepower, there's no reason for you to look angry. We're going to try and keep it happy and cheerful with this new Supra face right here. And I also decided to redesign the face of the man that's sitting inside of this brand new Supra and make him look a little more cheerful as well. One thing that this car is definitely not going to have is autonomous driving. So here's the thing, here are my thoughts on autonomous driving. I get the point with safety and all of that. That's totally understandable because computers are going to be safer to leave in control of the operation of a vehicle. And I guess we're already there now, but the thing is that what are we supposed to do when the car is driving us? I already have the answer for it. It is everybody is just gonna be more on their phones and their laptops and so on. So driving, the act itself of driving, is one of these last kind of daily activities or general activities that everybody does that requires you to look away from whatever screen you're on, the phone or the computer or whatever, and just think for a second. Because after you've been driving for a couple of years, it's kind of automatic. You don't really have to think about what you're doing, so it gives you time to think. And people wonder why most people get, you know, really cool ideas and solutions to problems when they're taking a shower, and that is because there are no other distractions. You can't have your phone in the shower. I mean, I guess we're gonna reach that point eventually, but right now we don't really take phones in the shower with us, and that just gives us time to think without any distraction from outside. And I think driving is similar to taking a shower. It might sound weird, but it's kind of therapeutic in some ways, and I think it's needed in today's society that's addicted to constantly scrolling through the social media feeds. And I know I'm just going on a tangent here, but I think it's just important to talk about. The screen time of today is just insane. So anyway, autonomous driving is out of the question. This is going to be a car which you are in control with using your hands and your feet. And guess what? That's the redesign of the Supra Mark IV if I could do whatever I wanted with the same proportions as the Mark IV Supra. And I'm really happy with how this turned out. I think it looks like the old Supra, and that has to do with this because we're using the same proportions as the old Supra. We're just updating the graphical elements and cleaning everything up and make it less 90s bubbliness and melted cheese and more into some defining key lines that we added to the car. And I'm really happy with how the design feature that I was talking about in the brief, the S lights, how they turned out. I think they suit this car and it looks cool. Can you imagine seeing this at night? You're instantly going to know that it's a Supra because you have two letter S's lit up behind you, so you know when to move over. And for the wheels, I think these are, they're simple enough, but at the same time they're modern enough to suit this redesign. And I also changed the wing. I made it into more of a sharper angle and not have such a curvature, such a long curvature to it. I wanted to make more of a distinct corner at the end of that one. And I also changed the side mirrors, added some blinkers or indicators into the side mirrors. And since the hood is such a massive surface area on the Mark IV, if I were to leave it like that, it would look very, very empty in the middle of this car. And that is because the original Mark IV, it has the headlights sits pretty close to each other. So when I push them out like this, it's going to create an even larger surface in the middle of this car, on the hood. So I wanted to break that up with a few lines and maybe a couple of intakes like we have right here. Other than that, I kept the same kind of graphic for the bumper. As I said in the brief, I wanted to keep the same kind of graphics, just update it and modernize it and make it into something cool looking like this. But at the same time, it doesn't look too aggressive. It kind of looks like it's smiling, and that's good job. I don't want aggressive faces anymore. We have that enough, and I think the Supra is not supposed to be angry. It's supposed to be a fun car to drive, and I want it to look ready to just have some fun. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me today. I'm the Sketch Monkey. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if we get this video to, let's say, 5,000 likes. If this video gets 5,000 likes, I will do the rear view of this design on the channel as well. So if you enjoyed it, make sure you take a second to hit the like button, and let's get the rear view up on the channel as well. I'm the Sketch Monkey. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.